I got this blower working about a month ago and I've used it a couple of times already. However, the last time I used it, it started to act a bit strange, which was weird in itself because the other times I've used it, it worked perfectly. I'm blowing some leaves around the woods today and I figure this would be a good time to show you what it's doing and hopefully keep you from making the same mistakes I've made. What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by. Today's project is this Poulan Blower, and the problem is that it's running rather strangely because it won't stay at a constant engine speed. It's only been doing this recently, so hopefully I haven't damaged anything, but I want to get it fixed because it's rather annoying to use it like this. Now, I'm going to try and repair this blower, however, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. Now, we're only going to mention what these other options could be. We don't have enough time to look into them, but if you need more information about these options, you're welcome to ask as many questions as you need to. So I do know a little bit about this blower because my neighbor gave it to me. I also serviced it years ago when I was just starting my hobby with small engines, so I'm quite aware of how it was used, and I'm pretty sure this problem is nothing serious. Just a hint, those last few words will come back to haunt me later in the video. So as the leaves fall from the trees, I've been pushing them away from the fence line and about 40 feet away using this Poulan blower. Now this is where the larger walk-behind blower comes in. It's a lot more powerful than the handheld, so it shouldn't have any problems moving this wall of leaves that's formed, or so I thought. You'll see what I'm talking about later on. Now the leaves have been here for a couple of days, and the worst part is that the leaves have long stems on them because in this part of the woods it's mostly pecan trees. So moving these leaves is very difficult because they won't separate from each other, but instead get entangled with one another. Now this walk behind was something I fixed in a video from a long time ago. It had an undersized engine on it and the shaft eventually broke on it. I then replaced it with a Predator 301cc engine with the correct shaft size. Now this one is one of my favorite projects of all time because I had to overcome a couple of issues and the outcome was well worth the headaches. It hasn't been started in a while, so I'll check to see if there's anything in the tank. Now there doesn't seem to be much gasoline in there, so we'll need to add some before we start it. Now after checking the oil, some of it did come out of the block because the ground isn't completely flat here, but it's still in great shape and there's plenty of it. As you can tell by the cobwebs, it's been in storage all this time, and this will be its first start this season. Now some have asked me if I would ever change over to the larger 420cc engine in the future, and the answer is, I don't think so. But if I happen to find an engine for cheap, I might consider it. The price difference between the two engines is just too much, and it works great with this 8 horsepower engine. Now, before I try tuning the carb, I'm going to inspect the spark plug and maybe try cleaning it because this will help me tune the engine. If the spark plug is a light color, it means I don't have enough fuel getting to the engine, and if it's too dark, it means I'm getting too much fuel. As of right now, I like this light brown color on the end of the plug, but I need it a bit cleaner so I can start with a clean slate. I'm not going to bother with a torch this time, just a wire brush to remove any extra carbon. To be honest, I was expecting it to have more carbon on it than this, so I'm guessing it's running a little bit lean on fuel right now. To get a better result, I should have just replaced the plug with a new one. The fuel I'm using is 89 octane non-ethanol gasoline with a fuel stabilizer. The oil that's in the gasoline is a fully synthetic 2-stroke, and it's not a brand name, but a store brand that's sold at big box stores. Now to tune the carb, we need to use a splined carb tool, but yours might be different. If you need these, you can buy these online for very little. So the answer to that question is apparently no. Adding and taking away fuel from the engine doesn't seem to make any difference to it. The engine speed is still unstable when the trigger is fully squeezed. Now I don't think it's a carb problem because I've already serviced this carb and it ran great after a couple of uses. The most likely issue is something to do with the engine. Now, before I remove the spark plug, I'm going to let this engine cool down for a bit, and to make the best use of my time, I'm going to get the big blower ready to use. Now, even though this blower is rated well over 2000 CFM, this is going to show you what the biggest problem is with this walk behind. Just keep in mind that this blower has not been used in over 11 months, so watch how it starts. I always turn the engine off by either letting it run out of gasoline or by closing the fuel shutoff valve. I do apologize, I didn't show the shutdown procedure for the blower. I just close the fuel valve and wait till the engine stops running. As you saw on the last pass with the walk behind, the leaves started to form a large drift and it's now very tough to move. The only way I can move it is to turn the air deflector on the outlet of the blower so I can push the blower straight into it, but that sometimes doesn't work either. Now, the other way is to use a handheld or a backpack blower to lift small portions of the drift, and this is where the handheld blower would come into play. Now, it should be cool enough to remove the plug, so let's see what it looks like now. As you can tell, it looks pretty much the same as it did before, even though I turned the H screw out to deliver more fuel to the engine. That means we have an air leak in the engine, which is causing its speed to be somewhat erratic. So I ended up using this blower after filming, and it suddenly stopped running after about 20 minutes of use. And if you haven't seen the repair video on this blower, I'll put a link at the top of the screen and in the description, and it'll show you the problem and how I fixed it. So another option as to why this engine wouldn't stay at one speed is a bad carburetor. Now there could be a problem with one of the diaphragms causing the fuel flow to be erratic, which would then cause the engine speed to be unstable as well. The easiest fix would be to just replace the carb. Now, this sort of engine problem is one of the more difficult ones to try and fix because there are multiple causes for it. That leads me to my question. If your blower had this sort of problem, would you still attempt to repair it knowing how tough it was to fix? For me, of course, I would still try and repair it, but just be prepared for a couple of hours of diagnostic work and possibly some bad news. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video.